6:01, we'll call our meeting to order, open with the pledge. It's been a quiet couple of weeks for me with our Thanksgiving holiday, so I don't have any events to report on. I wasn't able to make the tree lighting because it was my daughter's birthday, so I had to be on dad duty that day. But I was able to make the Community Service Center's Elvis celebration on Saturday, and that was well attended. But that's all I've got, so I'll turn it over to Neil.
I've had a real easy 2 weeks. Nothing to report.
All right, Megan.
I haven't had much either, but today I did attend the Zoom webinar on Minnesota's Multipurpose Community Facility Projects Grant to support community revitalization, connectedness, and equity. So there is actually more to that, but I'll cut it off there. But I think it'll be a possible source of funding for the library. It's a tight deadline though, so it'll depend on what we can get together in time, but I think we can at least give it a try. So that was pretty interesting. Other than that, I have also had a pretty quiet couple of weeks.
Speaking of library funding, we did, a few weeks ago, we talked about doing an ADA accessible door for the library. One of the grants that Pat Hansen submitted was to the Painesville Lutheran Church Endowment Fund. I heard that we did get approved for some funding for that. I'm not sure if it was for everything that was requested or what dollar amount they settled on, but so at least there's some grant monies coming in for that. Gene?
I don't have anything to report.
All right, Paul?
The only thing I have is the wine club tasting thing that was well attended.
All right. Were you able to make planning?
No, we didn't have one.
Okay. All right. All right, going to department head reports then. Ron?
Okay, thank you. First of all, tomorrow there will be a partial road closure up on First Street from Washburn over to Stearns. The Centricare is going to be doing some work up on the roof, and they do need to set a crane up there. They have made arrangements with the ambulance, so they are well aware of it. Over on Lake Avenue, the riverbank, the funding has been secured for that project through the North Fork River Watershed District, so thank you to them, and that will be getting started here in the next week or so. Water meter readings, we're reading on the 18th of December, and after that, that's the beginning of the first quarter. So I'd like to remind residents that is the quarter that your sewer rates are set. So if you're going to conserve water, that is the quarter to do it. Weather permitting, the ice rink will be flooded this coming week. Sledding Hill, obviously that is weather dependent also. I'd like to remind residents, if you're going to the Sledding Hill, you do need to park on Burr Street. There is no going into the golf course parking lot. Airport fuel sales for the year, we're now at 22,800 gallons, so I'm quite confident that we will surpass the 23,000 gallon mark out there, which is extremely good. If anybody noticed, out in the hallway, we did get a new drinking fountain installed out here. And also like to remind residents that the winter parking regulations are in effect, so no parking on the streets.
Thank you. Any questions for Ron? Tarek?
It was a pretty light couple of weeks, but I was with Megan at the library, or the grant, which I think will be suitable for the library, so we're going to try to apply for that. I went to the wine club event again with Bill and Paul. It was quite well attended, and I know Bill was pretty happy about it. And then, of course, I got together with Bill again, and we kind of went over some more stuff on the liquor store design and structure, etc. That's about it.
Any questions for Tarek? Okay. I'm not seeing anyone here for the open forum, so we'll move on. Consent agenda includes the minutes on page 1. If the meeting's there, the updated vouchers on page 2 totaling $881,837.42. Liquor licenses updated on page 2 of our packet. The sewer license from page 5 of the original, and the sewer license, or the tobacco licenses, excuse me, from page 6. Anybody want anything pulled, or is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Hersberg, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Soini. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. All right, fire department has a business meeting tonight, so at their request, we're gonna move new business A and B up and hear those right away. And then we will get back on with our regularly scheduled programming. So on the firefighter wage increase, page 87 of our packet, somebody want to talk to me about this?
Yeah, I can discuss, and if you guys want to add anything. Budget and Finance went through, actually, with the firefighters several times on budget. The first time was trying to see where our wages are compared to other cities. And right now, we have two different wage scales, one for regular calls and one for trainings. One is $10 an hour, one is $12 an hour. Most cities have these unified right now, and then when we were looking at comparable hourly rates, our rates were lower than the surrounding communities that we have. I think the average is about $20 an hour. Some were less and some were around 20 or so. So we want to bring the firefighters up to where surrounding communities will be over the course of the next 3 years. So we're recommending beginning next year or 2025 at $16 an hour and just one rate instead of having two rates, and then going up to 18 the following year and then 20 the third year. Anything else you want to add?
This is the schedule that was discussed at the contract meeting, is that right? If I recall right, okay. All right. Comments by the council, questions,
Well,
motions?
yeah, I think we should just go to the 20, so we're up to where we need to be for 3 year, for the next 3 years. And they don't know how much they're gonna need for a budget anyway.
Well, Budget and Finance kind of broke down the 20 to 16 to help this year's budget, which needed help, so.
However, those two towns that these things were compared to were Atwater and Eden Valley, which Painesville is larger than those, so I think that this should reflect the population.
Wasn't New London also in our analysis?
Yeah.
Which they were making 20, I believe.
I think it's in our minutes, sir. Belgrade 18, New London 20, Bruton 15, Cold Spring 15. 16 puts us right in line.
Cold Spring's getting a new hall, 15 for a new hall? I just.
I think the original proposal from the fire department was asking for 20, wasn't it, guys?
Was.
Yeah. So I-
Then they came to Budget and Finance and we renegotiated the 3-year plan. And this is what Budget and Finance recommends.
And if I recall, the fire department was pretty amiable to that. I think they just wanted to make sure that there was a plan going forward. I think when we projected 20 right away into the next few years' budget, it was a bit interesting.
I'll make the motion to do the 3-year increases, 16, 18, and 20 for 25, 26, and 27.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Hersberg, as stated on the action sheet, to approve the wage increase in the steps, seconded by Brick. Further discussion? I'm not hearing.
No, I still think we should just go to the 20 and leave it for 3 years. But,
I have to agree with Gene on that, because in 2 years from time, we don't know where inflation is going to be. And we may be looking at getting a deal right now instead of waiting a couple years down the road.
but the motion's been made.
The motion's been made, there's a second, but we're still up for discussion. I will say, I've bounced on this one and I've gone both ways. Because I think there's some merit in just doing it. I was thinking we'll talk on this further, but our budget increase for this year is sizable. But I know when I got my property tax notice, my taxes are going up by, I think, $100 a month, based on what we had submitted as our prelim number, not what we're coming in at. So our budget's not hurting as much as we thought, and that's because of all the development we've had.
Well, and also the fact that these guys, a lot of them have to take off work to do calls, and they're losing money by going on fire calls. And they don't do it for the money. I mean, but not everybody gets paid when they go on the call, although a lot of them are at night. So,
I'd like to add to that, the property taxes going up, a larger portion of that is coming from the county level.
Yeah, I don't remember what the breakdown was. I
Yeah,
just-
I looked
Mine didn't
at,
go up hardly at all, 20 bucks or something.
I think my biggest concern is this is what was discussed with all of the contracting parties, and it doesn't sit right with me. I don't think they would object, but that's still, it's not what we discussed with them. I think I would feel better with it, and I would be okay with revisiting it next year and saying, look, do we want to skip step 2 and just go straight to 20?
I guess I'd comment, Paul, your comment on inflation. If we have inflation, that's gonna affect you whether you're getting $10 an hour or 20. So, I mean, inflation has to be dealt with separately.
I don't think there's any question that they deserve the 20 and more. It's just what we can make work with the budget, and I think this is what was decided on. We did talk about, you know, a 2-step process instead of a 3 as well, so I think if we want to just talk about revisiting next year and going straight to 20.
Well, if we're doing a $4 roughly this year and a $4 next year, then we're at 20. So yeah, we do 2-step instead of 3-step. That works.
Yeah, why don't we change it to that?
just one comment I'd like to make is, if we decide to go with the steps, what's this telling the firefighters? That they're looking at 20, but they're gonna have to wait because they're not worthy enough to get a $2 an hour raise?
Well, the representatives who came to the meeting didn't see it that way when the numbers were broken down. You know, I think that they understood, and I don't think any of us saw it that way either. As I just, you know, said, we certainly would pay them double that if we could. It's just, what can we make work? So,
Sure, we have to work on the budget. I'd be okay with doing
2 instead of 3.
16 next year and 20 the next. What do you think, Mr. Mayor?
Any further discussion?
I just,
Mike?
Mike?
our budget, I mean, you look at the numbers, we 7,000 under last year on wages alone. I don't really think that the 20, and we've got less calls this year. I don't even think we're gonna get, unless we have really good last 2 weeks of the year, we're not even gonna get close to what we had last year. And we're gonna fall short again.
But 16's a very nice jump from 10. I've never had a job where I got a $6 an hour raise.
Well,
I've been on
it's
30
full,
years and we've got 2 raises since I've been on.
Yeah, I know, it's time.
well, and it's not 10, that's for meetings, it's 12 for calls. So
Yeah.
it's $4 for calls.
I think it's more than deserved. I think it's more than right to go to 20. I'm not opposed to going to 20 now. My only hesitation is this is not what was presented to those who signed the contracts with us. And I just, it feels like bad pool to me to tell them that we're going to do one thing and then to do something else. If it were just our money, I'm all on going to the 20 right away.
I thought when the contract meetings, and I wasn't there, I had
Yep.
something else that night, in August, I thought it was presented at 20 to the townships.
It
Or-
was presented both ways, like we discussed in our budget and finance meetings.
There wasn't a lot of discussion, there wasn't even really
Nope.
questions asked.
No.
No, there never is. They usually,
No, and that's why I struggled, because I don't think anybody at those meetings would say no.
no.
I don't think that they would. Any further discussion?
I just want to say that I think it doesn't make financial sense to a firefighter to leave a $20 an hour job to go make 16.
But they don't do it for the money.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know.
But a part of that is being a volunteer.
Yep, you're right.
I mean,
It is.
But if we put that into perspective, you know, the people that we really want are the 20 to 30-year-olds, and they're the ones that are standing in the grocery store with a $20 bill. Wondering how they're gonna buy their groceries. That wasn't that long ago I was there. You know, and so if you're asking them to make a decision to go on a fire call or stay at the job, if they're struggling, they're gonna stay at their job.
All right, right now, we've got a motion and a second on the wage increase as stated on the action sheet. I think all that's could be said has been said. I'll call the question. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign, or all opposed say nay. Nay. And it's going to be a nay from me, so the motion does not prevail. I'd entertain a motion on something else, otherwise we would move on and the wages would stay the same.
I'll make the motion that we just go to $20 an hour.
No second.
There's a motion by Sony to go to the $20 an increase right now, seconded by Thielen. Any further discussion on this, knowing that a lot of it's already been
Yes.
said? Neil?
If we're also willing to throw out the recommendation of the finance board, let's compromise and go at 18. And that won't affect our budget as bad as 20. And it's a nice compromise.
We're 16 this year and 20 next year, like we discussed, instead, and just skip the 18 altogether.
Let's do 18 now, and that's the motion. We'll go 20 next year, the year after, whatever.
Motion's already 20, isn't it?
Yeah, there's-
The motion is for 20. And what I'm hearing is that Neil would like to go to 18 now and then we revisit this next year.
Yep.
Are you making a motion to amend?
Yes, I will.
So there's a motion to amend Gene's motion to go to 18 now instead of 20. Is there a second on the motion to amend?
I'll second.
Seconded by Brick. Discussion on the motion to amend.
I think it'll be tough, because it was, we came to this decision in the budget and finance, and it was thoroughly discussed with, the representatives of the fire board as well as, so I don't know. I think it'll be rough if we just throw out the thing altogether. So I think that as much as I wish it were, much more than even 20, I think that 18 is a fair compromise, so.
Okay, well, we have a motion to amend the motion to an $18 an hour increase by Hersberg, seconded by Brick. On the motion to amend, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
Opposed.
I hear one opposed, 4 in favor. The motion to amend does carry. So now the question is whether to enact an increase for wages at $18 an hour. On that, I think I'm just going to call the question unless somebody's got something really pressing that we haven't already said. I'm not trying to shut anyone up, but just moving along.
I thought that's what we just voted on.
No.
No, we voted on a motion to amend.
Oh, okay.
I'm being pedantic with our
All right,
motion.
all right. I was wondering about the amend there anyway. Okay.
On the amended motion, which is to go to an $18 an hour increase, with the intention that we would come back next year and discuss, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion does carry. I didn't hear any naysayers, I'm gonna call it unanimous. All right, on the annual audit for the Relief Association.
So the audit's in your packet. There was nothing flagged this year, so just a formality to have you sign off on it. This will be the last one.
Okay, I was wondering why we still had to do one. This is the last one.
Last one.
Yeah.
Because
year lag,
we
yeah.
switched in the middle of the year, all spring, wasn't it?
So PERA requires us to do one last audit, so that's what
Okay.
this is.
How are things going with para?
Very good. As of to date, year to date, we're up right around rough math 6% performance. So 879,000, I think somewhere ballpark is where we're at in the fund.
Did we increase your contribution recently, or did you and I just talk about needing to increase?
It was discussed, we'll bring it to the Budget and Finance meeting, committee next year, for next year.
So that's coming.
Yes.
All right, so we're looking at a motion to approve the audit. Like as Brad said, it was a clean audit. This is our last one. Now that things are handed off to para, everything's going to be in their control.
Just one fast question.
Yep.
The audit gets paid for from the Relief Association.
Correct.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the audit.
So moved.
Motion by Hersberg to approve the audit. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Soini. I heard it first. Sorry, Megan.
That's all right.
Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Back up.
Very much.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your night.
You
Yep,
too, thank you.
Okay, back up to page 7 of our packet, old business A. VOSP would like a payment from us. Chuck, is this you, or who wants to talk to me about paying our bills?
Yep, I can take this one. The work on the shelter continues. If you've been out there, a lot of the building is up now, and they're working on electrical and mechanical as well. They hope to have pretty much everything that they can wrapped up here by the end of the year. There'll be some things come springtime that have to get done, like the landscaping and some miscellaneous stuff like that. So, in your packet is a copy of pay request 2 for work completed in November in the amount of $197,389.10.
Right, I'd look for a motion to approve pay request number 2 as stated on the action sheet.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Soini, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Thielen, pay the payment estimate number 2 to Voss Plumbing and Heating. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. Page 11, our water and sewer rates. Ron, or I guess whoever's being Belinda tonight.
I think that'll be done after the
TNT,
TNT.
Oh, yeah.
That is tonight.
6:30.
At 6:30, we'll have a public hearing. So let's move on then, because Kristen loves when we jump to other business.
What's your favorite?
New business C.
Nope. We'll wait till after TNT for that too.
Ordinance,
The ordinance?
no,
Oh, no, old business.
Yep.
Yeah.
The cannabis ordinance, or
Okay.
the zoning stuff.
I'm thinking new business team, like, no, wait a second. Okay.
It's okay. It's a Monday, and it's long for all of us. Jen, do you want to talk to us about this?
Sure.
It says you're going to give me a report, so.
So you'll find in your packet the newly drafted amendments for the zoning ordinance. It's ordinance number 55. That amendment does include some highlighted sections, including some definitions we wanted to clarify, the lot coverage language. We did address parking as council wanted us to look at. We addressed some signage as council wanted us to look at, as well as including the cannabis and where it can be sold for retail, where it can be, where cannabis businesses can take place. So you'll find that in this zoning amendment. We did hold a public hearing on it because all ordinances within the zoning are required to hold a public hearing. Nobody was in attendance. We had posted it for the necessary 10 days. You'll see in there the highlighted areas that we changed, the proposed ordinance. We did have one letter sent to us, and that was read aloud during the public hearing, and I did include it in your packet. It was actually from Jeff Bertram, but that really didn't affect the zoning portion. It's more about the ordinance regarding having cannabis, the licensing of it, all that, which will be coming to your next meeting. So this is just the zoning portion. There was one item, we were worried about the cannabis might affect the THC-infused beverages that are on sale liquor establishments, like our restaurants that are in bars and grills, but that does not affect it. So I know you'll notice in your packet on 109 that one of our planning board members suggested that we not allow cannabis or future on-sale liquor, bars and bars in the C1 district, but that would be something that you would have to change. That's not what we acted on in planning.
so it's just zoning stuff mostly.
So it is just the zoning on where cannabis can be allowed. We addressed some signage, we increased the amount of square footage for lots, and we also revamped a few of the sections for parking.
Maybe we'll have less variances.
I don't know if Bill wants to add in anything on that.
I think you've covered it. That's a good summary. I mean, the easiest way to look at it, I think, is to look at the yellow highlighted changes in the body of the ordinance itself. But
I did.
I will also note, I got an email earlier today from Stearns County that I forwarded to Tarek and Jen, along with Bill. And then Kristen got the same email, so she forwarded it to all of us as well. Stearns County has adopted a cannabis ordinance. I have not had time to read it or look at it, but I think that's something that we'll want to consider as we discuss going forward, but this is not related to those things.
That is included in your packet tonight. It's under informational number C.
Oh, it is on there, thank you.
And that has nothing to do with zoning,
It does not.
okay? Because I read bits and pieces and, okay.
And I will say, and if I'm the only person up here that agrees with it, fine. I know that Chief Wagner and I certainly disagree, but I think if the legislature is going to force this on us, then let's just get on board and adopt it wholeheartedly and do it our own way, rather than wait for them to tell us what to do, because I think that's what they will do. On the zoning ordinance, though, you know I don't want parking stuff in here. Can we talk about why we changed it the way that we did? And maybe didn't just do away with it entirely? And I admit, I didn't get anything to planning board to consider, but
I would just say no one on the planning board. Nope.
that's fine. I wasn't expecting them to.
So that's why.
They want to make it a bit more loosely or more flexible in terms of what they allow, so they adjusted some of that to make it more flexible, but yeah, they want to keep it in place, a parking ordinance.
The other thing ironically is that it just happened to have two parking variances within, 6 months of each other. That's never happened before. We've always been able to meet the parking. And I realize it's overhead. I realize that developers, don't necessarily like parking lots. But I believe if we don't require some parking, and whether we leave it up to the business or the traffic, we're going to run into some things that Mr. Wagner won't like that either. We might even run into some issues with the brewery down there if they have big events. Now, I did actually stop by Tractor Supply on Black Friday, and they had no parking issues. So.
So what I'm hearing is nobody wants to join me in a motion to amend this to eliminate the parking requirements.
Not now.
I
at
think
this
you have to have minimums to keep the honest or dishonest. Otherwise, somebody's gonna put something up with no parking. That's what this is meant to do, is to have bare minimums for parking.
I mean, to some extent, I do think that it's just the nature of business. If you don't have any parking, people aren't going to want to go there, and you're going to realize it's not a good idea, and you're going to fix it. But,
And that's where I stand, but I also think parking lots are a giant waste of carbon resources that just reflect hot air back up into the atmosphere, and
be that as it may, I think
all right.
gotta have something.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance number 55, third series, amending the chapter 36 zoning and official summary of the ordinance.
I have a motion by Soini, as stated on the action sheet, to approve the ordinance and the summary. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Thielen. Any further discussion?
Hey, Sean, I've got
Yeah.
something. While we maybe disagree on the whole THC stuff, I would like the council to at least consider whether or not we would want this in a C1. We're talking the downtown district, and we have a high recovery population down there, and I don't know that having a potential dispensary near a recovery center is necessarily in the best interest of the city. And I think that's something that we should really take a hard look at as to whether or not that, we've got two conflicting businesses like that in such close proximity, so.
Good point.
I get it, and I'm sorry, Megan, you can go ahead, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I mean, it conflicts just as much as having a bar downtown. We have those. I'm not ignorant of that conflict, and I do think that, obviously that population needs to be taken into consideration, but I think there comes a point where we can't, make the path suitable for people, they're in doing the work to live in the world, and they're gonna have to. I don't think that we can make decisions based on a single population all the time. And I think a lot of people seem to not want us to make decisions or even acknowledge the existence of that population whatsoever, except when it suits them. And so that's interesting.
And
Reading Angie Berg's letter today, Stearns County is going to have 13 establishments to retail marijuana.
That's their minimum that they can have.
Well, they're pushing for that
That's
to
what-
be
that's all
the
they
minimum
want.
and max,
Yeah.
yes. So if there's 13, our odds of getting one are probably pretty slim.
Maybe, there's quite a bit, they're still figuring out what size building, they're talking vaults. You have to have a bank vault to store this stuff in. There's a lot more to it, this legislature.
I agree with the concern, and I have some questions about some other objections to it and whether they're fueled by similar concerns. But I agree with Megan that we can't govern based on, I guess, perhaps our subjective beliefs about these individuals. There's the adage that laws are made by those who show up, and nobody came to the hearing to protest that concern. And I think if it were a bigger concern to those running it, they should have been here to vocalize that.
Planning board member did protest it.
Okay?
Was it? A planning board member did protest it, bring it up.
Right, that wasn't his reason, though. I mean, his reason was he just didn't think it was an appropriate business in C1. He was on the committee to revitalize downtown, and he felt like that was not something that would be helpful to the goals of revitalization. I think that was his bigger point, it wasn't the point that the chief was making. Oh, not to say that the chief's point isn't one to be concerned about, but that wasn't the member's point.
Yeah. I think the point is well taken, and it's well raised, but I'm going to choose to believe that the people in those programs are set up for success and will have the ability to avoid it if such an establishment were to potentially, maybe someday open.
But you want to add another temptation to that?
But
We wouldn't.
the
That's probably the last
temptation,
thing
if
you're
it's,
gonna
if
wanna
it's, the whole point, what they're saying is not to have it in C1. Well, what
Right,
if
I
they say
understand
it
that,
can
that's what I
be
mean.
somewhere else? It's gonna be around.
It's going to be around, there's no doubt about it.
I don't see, you're cutting off people's livelihoods, maybe.
I mean, we wouldn't say no to a bar and restaurant that wanted to open up. There's no
No.
difference.
So,
I mean,
don't think we should govern that strictly.
The eatery had a liquor license.
yeah.
And if something opened in its place again, I don't think that we would poo-poo it. I don't think that we would change it. I think the legislature is telling us that we essentially need to treat this like another liquor license. And that's the way we should act. I get it, but I think we're in a situation where this is how we're essentially told to do. We have a motion and a second on approving the ordinance. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the ordinance in the summary indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion does carry. Great. It's 6:35, so let's have a 6:30 public hearing. And Bill, I'm sorry, but I'm of the opinion that we can be late, just not early. Maybe I'm wrong. So, all right, anyway, we have our truth and taxation public hearing. Tarek, are you handling this tonight?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. As you know, city, county, school district, and special property tax authorities must establish their levy on or before 5 working days after December 20th of the year, preceding the year in which the levy will be paid by taxpayers, which means we need to get this done before the end of the year. If we look at the levy that we have so far today, we have a grand total of $1,395,893. And of course, this does include the 3 bond payments that we have. If you dig deeper into our budget, apologize for the numbers showing up here small, but I tried to fit this on 1 page instead of splitting it into 2. But this is a summary of our general fund, and you can see where the budget changes have been. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions on these or if we should continue.
Let's continue for now. I have something I want to come back to.
Okay. If you want to do a breakdown of salaries and benefits, because that was one of the items that we saw an increase in for the year, this is the breakdown of it. And if we're looking at total breakdown of expenditures, you can see that roughly 37% is spent on public safety, which is police and fire. The next largest item is going to be public works at roughly 25%. And then the third largest is 21%, which is general government. So those are the 3 largest components of the general fund expenditures. Here is also comparing the general fund. If we're looking at what we're getting into in revenues, and we can see where our revenues are increasing. Overall, the increase projected for 2025 is going to be 9.7% revenue increase. And again, this is just breaking down the largest components of where our revenues are coming from. So if we're looking at the top 3 areas where we get our revenue, number 1 is property taxes at 36%. And then the second largest segment of where our revenue comes from is charges for services at 29%. And then the third area is the state general purpose aid, or GSA. That's coming in at almost 29%. And of course, if we're looking at our local government funding, this just tells you over the years how it's been increasing. Obviously, 24 and 25 are larger than the previous years, but overall, we're getting a little bit more every year. And now we're going to the EDAP fund, and then we'll go to public works. We'll talk about water, sewer, and then I'll let Bill handle the liquor side. But in terms of EDAP fund, as you can see here, it's gone up roughly 10%, but of course the numbers aren't as big in terms of expenditures here. We will from 94,900 roughly into 105,000 in 2025. So a 10.7% increase. Ron, if you want to do water and sewer.
All right, thank you. Okay, first of all, on the water, on the base rate on the water, there's no increase proposed, and there is a 10-cent increase proposed on the base rate. Just for information, this here also includes the stormwater utility, which we are proposing to go from $3 to $4 a month for residential, and $6 to $8 for commercial. That is per month. And the whack and sack charges, they have never been increased as long as they've been imposed, which is going on like 20 years now. So they are going from $800 on the water to $1,000, and $1,000 to $1,200 on the sewer. And whack and sack, if anybody doesn't know, that is for new customers only that see them. So on the source of supply for the water, we still do have 4 wells, and they've had them for quite a while, but we're seeing a 2.6% increase there. Purification, that is the water treatment plant, that is a 9% increase. However, that is due to mostly inflation on utilities and chemical costs. Chemical costs of our suppliers have really gone up over the last year or 2. Distribution is seeing a 7.1% increase. Admin, most of the increase there is due simply to support programs. And our non-operating expenses, one of our major increases is depreciation, which we're seeing a $28,000 increase, and also our CIP and replacement funds. So our total appropriation increase of 7.2, so our total is $1.24 million for the water fund. On the breakdown of that, the source of supply is roughly 3.2, the purification 5.3, distribution system is only 3.7%, salary and benefits is at 11.7%, the admin is at 6.3%, and I think as we all know, the non-operating expenses, that's all our bond payments, capital improvement, et cetera, that is the lion's share at just under 70% there. So, under the sewer fund, the total appropriations there, we're looking at $1.9 million. Election system went up by 4.8%. The disposal went up by 10.9. Again, that lab costs and utilities was the major there. The admin wages actually went down a little bit. Depreciation there was $15,000, did go up. The non-operating expenses, again, the CIP and replacement funds, they went up by 5%. The irrigation system went up by a modest 1.2%, and the aeration pond went up by 5.5 for the total of 3.8% increase in the budget. And total again was $1.942 million. And what we're proposing there is a $1 increase on the base rate and a 12% increase in the bulk rate. And on the water and sewer combined, residents will see roughly, I think it's like a 2.4% increase in the water and sewer when you calculate it all out. Let's see, down on the bottom there, the mains and the lift station are at 2.8% of the budget. The lift station and ponds is at 3.5, salary and benefits is at 8.4%, admin is at 28%, the non-operating is at 35, the irrigation is at 4.8, and the irrigation admin is at 5.9, and the aeration pond is at 11%. And the aeration pond, again, AMPI pays 100% of that entirely. So, any questions?
How will these costs be affected at all with the AMPI Phase 2 stuff? I'm guessing that's not going to be up and running in '25, is it?
It may be in the fall of '25, but this should not affect it because AMPI is paying 100% and will pay 100% of that operation.
Okay. In years past, we did another city analysis just to show how cheap we were. Have we done one of those recently?
Yes, we have. We do that every year, and yes, we are by far on the low end. There are some communities that have a base rate of that's just as high as our total bill. So most of our bills are, our quarterly bill is their monthly bill.
Okay. Any other questions for Ron before we move on? Okay. I'm good.
Okay. All right, Bill.
On the expenditure part of our budget for next year, again, purchases is our largest expense that we have, because we're expecting the sales to increase, so we'll be buying more product. Salaries will increase by 8%, as the average wage has gone up tremendously over the last few years to maintain help. Other expenses will increase 5%, and transfers will remain the same. So our total budget appropriations will be $2.170317 million on expense side. And as you break it down, 69% of our expenses will be purchasing product to sell. 15% of our expense is salary, supplies is 0.2, overhead is 2.1, other expenses will be 13.7. As you get into the revenue side, everything will be increasing. Liquor sales 3.2, beer up 4.1, wine 4%. Other merchandise sales is down 22%. A lot of that has to do with a switch in how people are purchasing. As you'll see on the THC side of it, we're going to increase that budget number by 111%, which is by far the biggest increase of anything. And tobacco sales will be up 5.2%. Sales tax will follow along with our sales at 6.6%, and our other revenues will be 7% for revenues of $2.172 million, 235, or 4.2% increase. And as you look at the pie, our beer sales, again, are 43% of our business. Liquor will be next at 28. Wine sales is at 7.8. Other merchandise, 3.8. Tobacco is up to 5%. THC is about 2.8% of our business. Sales tax is 8.2. Other revenues at 0.8. So we're looking to increase our sales again next year as well.
Good. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any questions by the council?
Nope, that's pretty self-explanatory.
Leon, we have our public budget hearing. Is that what you're here to check out, or did you just miss us?
No, I mean, from Spaniard, I said my taxes went up 23%. Is that something that's going to continue, or?
Just like your tax notice for next year?
From the city?
The city's portion?
Just the city's portion. And it is proposed, it's not an actual yet. Until,
I'm not saying I don't pay my fair share of taxes. 23%, I can't go back to my customers next year. That's a lot.
Right. I'm just curious as to how that, not that I'm doubting you, I'm just trying to think through my head, because we were talking shortly before we started how our personal, like residential ones actually went down.
I have it right here.
No.
Yeah, I believe, I'm wondering if the county screwed something up.
yeah, the thing to do is talk to the assessor's office,
Somewhere around there.
and they will take a look at it. But also, that's what, when we have our, well, we don't do Board of Adjustment, that's when you protest your property taxes, and that's in the spring. But otherwise.
I don't have a problem paying taxes.
No, and every year they take a section of properties. One year it might be ag, or one year it might be residential, and they go do a fine-tune assessment of those, and then the next, I mean, so sometimes it has a jump, one big jump too.
I'm saying,
I can understand 3 to 5%.
Yeah,
Was it a big valuation change or not
No.
that big?
Leon, I'm seeing 7,100 to 7,700.
On here, it's got 10,086.
Or is that just for 24, not 25? Yeah.
that's from the county.
That's 24.
He's looking at the proposed for 25.
Oh, yeah, because the
Yep,
25,
Oh,
either,
there
yeah.
you go.
there's a valuation increase of $100,000. That's the rub. And that's, because up there at the top, they've got the value of your property going up by 10%.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's,
That's where you talk to the assessor's office.
as for the city's increase, I'll tell you, our goal is to limit those increases. And I don't anticipate that going up again. Certainly not my plan. I don't want you to be paying 25% more in taxes every year, but,
I mean, yeah, I mean, I compete against people from South Dakota, that's our competition.
right. But yeah, Gene is right that that's a valuation issue.
And I don't think anyone's ever shown up to one of those as long as I've been on it.
Oh, they have.
Nah, not since Paul's been on though.
No, not since you've been on, but they used to.
Yeah, okay.
Well, now we're not doing it. We're not holding, oh yeah, Jennifer has something.
So Leon, if you, Kathy Cordy is the commercial assessor. the industrial and commercial assessor for Paynesville. She was just in our office today looking at some of the other industrial and commercial projects that are being done. It would be in your best interest to visit with her at the assessor's office. Invite her out. She's going to want to look through the facility. She's going to want to see where that 100,000, that evaluation got increased, and if that can be adjusted down based on what improvements you made on the property, because that will affect your taxes. But Kathy Cordy is the assessor that does the commercial and the industrial, and she was just here today.
If you want, I can send you her details.
Can you do that, please?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Yeah, no, and that's a valid concern. I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad that somebody's paying attention to what we've got going on here.
City's been good.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Okay.
I can send you her contact information. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
If you don't get that from Tarek by like noon tomorrow, come in and yell at me.
Talk to Jennifer.
All right, other questions anybody has about the budget? Oh, Tarek, I was wondering on the EDAP, we're dropping our transfer by like 70,000.
Yeah.
Does that mean that we're gonna pull from the reserves for things like your salary?
We already have a good amount built up into EDAP, and I mean, it's been sitting there for years, so yeah, we'll be using some of that. I won't call it reserve, it's just the EDAP, EDAP account that we have, not our EDAP
Right,
fund
it's-
for lending.
It's not our loans, it's.
Right.
It's not a, yeah.
Yeah.
We kind
But-
of did that to help this year's budget.
Yeah.
No, I get that, and my biggest concern is that at some point that fund is going to run out, and then we're looking at an automatic $70,000 increase just on that one piece. So, I'm good with it for this year.
Well, our thinking was this year, yes.
Yeah, but I'd like to slowly rebuild it back to where it needs to be so that we don't run out and then have to look at a big jump.
Yeah, no, I don't want a big jump either.
Okay. Any other questions for the public hearing? I don't have any. With that, we'll close our public hearing, go back into business, start with our water and sewer rates on page 11. Ron, you just told us about the increase. The general gist that I got is that residential water is staying the same, and we're looking at a minor increase on residential sewer, yes?
I'll make the motion to approve Resolution 24-33 regarding Chapter 34 water and sewer rates.
There's a motion by Hersberg to approve Resolution 24-33. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Soini. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. Right, on to page 15. We're looking at a motion to adopt the city budget. I'm sorry, Tarek, the other question I had was the council discussed changing the budgeting for the police department. Where did that land? I thought I heard some rumblings that you found like a hybrid option or something.
Yeah, we're doing, assuming that we hire somebody within the first half of the year.
Okay, so budgeting for 6 months?
Yeah. Even though Paul might be posting pretty soon here, but we're assuming that we won't find somebody right away. It'll take time.
So we want to drag our feet till June.
No, that's not the goal, Neil.
It seems like that's when they come, is in the.
Yeah, I know.
After graduation and everything.
Yep.
It's gonna be tough to find, yeah.
Well, and again, if something comes along and we hire, then I think we know that and we eat into our reserves.
Yeah.
We've said that so many are there, but it's just a question of taxing for it. All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2434 to adopt the city's budget
I'll make that motion.
With the change in firefighter salaries.
with the change in firefighter salaries, Tarek is telling me.
Yep.
So there's a motion by Soini to approve the resolution. Actually, hold on. What page is our resolution on? I think 197.
84.
Thank you. I don't think we need to change anything for that, because we don't have a budgeted amount. We're just,
Salaries, yeah.
for salaries, we're just gonna go over if that's what it is.
Okay.
And they've been under anyway.
So, all right, so we have a motion to approve Resolution 24-34 as stated by Soini. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Brick. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. Right. Page 85, looking to approve Resolution 24-35, adopting the final tax levy. Bueller?
Bueller.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve Resolution 24-35, adopting the final tax levy to collectible in 2025. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded from Soini. Any further discussion on that?
I just couldn't get to that page fast enough.
Me either.
All right. Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Carries. All right. Now we head to page 168 on an airport grant. I'm guessing Ron or Chuck, this is one of you gentlemen.
All right, I'll start it off. MnDOT currently has grants available for equipment. The negative part about this grant is if we get it, this piece of equipment, it would only be used at the airport. It cannot be used anywhere else.
Oh,
So with that, we would not trade in or sell any of our existing equipment. You know, maybe down the road, once we find out how this would work, we could. But out at the airport, we have 28 acres of grass, and I guess if you look, what scores the highest is mowers and snowplow equipment. And we are eligible for 75% of that cost. If we get one, I think we should get pretty much identical to the large one we have. That's a 16-foot cut, and total cost of it is the $157,414. That is a state contract bid. We also did check with one of our local dealers here, and they have nothing to match this unit. So, but as long as it's a state bid, I think we are fine on that end. We have not used this grant in the past, however, it looks very attractive. We can get about $160,000 piece of equipment for about $40,000, so we figured it would be well worth presenting.
probably save on your other mowers too.
Yes. Well, that's, the positive part is it's gonna save on the other mowers, so
Yep.
it would prevent us from having to buy another one for the street department.
Right.
As long as the state's paying a good part of it, can't see any reason why it shouldn't be new.
Right.
No, that's a pretty good deal. I'll make the motion to apply for the MnDOT Aeronautics Equipment Grant, and if awarded, authorize the purchase of the Groundmaster 5910 mower in the amount of $157,004.14.
Second.
Motion by Soini is stated on the action sheet, seconded by Hersberg to approve applying and then buying if approved. Further discussion? I see Neil.
Ron, would Public Works still be doing the operation?
Yes.
Okay.
If, I guess someday, if we ever did go to a FBO, and that was part of the contract, they would have the piece of equipment now to do it.
Right, that's what I was
For
thinking.
the time being, yes, it
Good,
would be a
good.
Public Works crew.
Planning ahead.
Good.
Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Carries. All right. Page 173, looking at scheduling a meeting for council orientation for a new member coming on. Probably best to do the evening session. And I don't think we're gonna need more than an hour. Maybe. I just don't think we will.
I think an hour would be fine.
I see,
Did you talk to Donna? I know she usually has Thursdays off.
So these are the 2 days that Donna gave me.
Perfect. I know she usually has Thursdays off.
I see LMC has the dates for Alexandria for new council people,
Yeah.
the orientation, and we'll have to see if Donna can make that. I'm good with Monday the 6th.
That would be my preference to Thursday.
I'll make
I'm
that
indifferent.
motion.
I don't come.
So motion by Hersberg to set the meeting for Monday, January 6th at 6 PM?
I'll second.
Yep.
Okay. Monday to set a motion, or meeting, January 6th at 6 PM. Hersberg, seconded by Brick. Any further discussion? Gene will be there with bells on.
No, I don't have to come.
Miss you.
I know.
You should though.
We,
Draft you into service for something.
Make you do a ceremony,
two committees.
pass a torch,
Oh,
something.
yeah.
All right. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None? Carries. All right. Interviewing Public Works Directors. Policies and Procedures is meeting on Wednesday. And when would we like to do a meeting, or a second?
I cannot do the 16th.
Okay, no 16th.
I cannot do the night of the 17th.
Do we know from the applicants if they have a preference for day or night?
So we are interviewing on the 11th, and from those interviews, we'll determine when we'll do the second interviews. I was just trying to expedite this as quickly as possible, so that leaves only open the week of the 16th.
The 17th, I am open all day. Oh no, I take that back. Erica works that day.
I'm out the 20th.
Well, our EDAP meetings,
The best two for me are the 18th or 20th.
I can't do the 20th.
isn't that a Friday night or something?
Yeah, I think we're.
Oh, I can't do the 18th during the day. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what it is.
During the day?
yeah, it's sort of this program at churches that night, but
Oh, yeah.
it's daytime, so I'm good.
Oh, is the 18th for everybody during the day?
Works
Yep.
for me. Megan, I presume they all equally suck for you?
They're fine. I just can't do the 20th because we're gonna go to Ely that weekend.
What?
Do you want to do like a 9 AM on the 18th so that maybe you can get out of here and get 2.5 hours of sleep or something?
Or do
Maybe.
you not work that night, maybe?
Huh? No, I work Wednesday.
Maybe we could start at 10 in the morning. 9.
I vote
would-
for 7 AM.
On the 18th, we would not be able to hold them here. I'm just saying that. We would have to move locations because Meg, our financial people for the different comp just scheduled theirs today. So if we do the 18th, it will not be here. It'll probably be at the fire hall.
No,
That will work.
we can do it at the Public Works garage.
Fun.
That would
We
work.
could do it at the Public Works garage, yep. If that works.
Ron, and have it all cleaned up and
We built
special.
Ron a fancy new building and now he doesn't want to use it.
We gotta use it.
We gotta show it off.
And it's a public works interview. Perfect.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah,
What time are these interviews starting?
I'm
Whatever.
leaving it up to you to see what works.
The ones on the 11th.
About 1:30?
Well, 1:30, we're having a policies and procedures for about a half hour, and the interviews are going to start at 2 o'clock. So we are going to be here till after 7. So they're going to be long on Wednesday night, and we won't know how many that the Policies and Procedures Board wants to pass through until either the late on the 11th or early on the 12th.
Maybe one, maybe none.
And that'll depend on the candidates. If there's
Right.
three
It might be
outstanding,
three,
we'll
it might
interview
be
three. If there's
4, it
five-
might be 2.
We're hoping not more than 3.
How many? 6 interviews, right?
Yep.
Yes,
So
and we
we're
have
looking at-
16 applications.
Anywhere between 0 and 6.
I would suspect you won't have 6. but-
No.
I,
We
no.
won't call a meeting
I'm
for
also
0.
not suspecting we won't have 0.
Correct.
Yeah.
Hopefully 2 or
So-
3.
Can we circle the 18th?
I think the 18th, the question is just time.
And then, Megan, is it easier just to come right away, or is it easier to have a break and then come?
Well, it's easier to come right away, but I mean, I don't think we'll be getting people there at 7 in the morning, so.
No, we're not doing that. I'm not gonna be there at 7 in the morning.
Oh, okay, well, let's make this all about Jean. Jean, when would it work for you?
Oh, my- Hey, we had an EDAP meeting scheduled that got canceled. I was not happy. I'm not
Oh,
happy.
yeah. Getting trash browns. Whatever, I can make it work.
You
Well-
go to bed in the morning, meet at 1 o'clock too.
I mean, it could be in the afternoon also. I
Yeah.
mean, it wouldn't have to be in the morning.
Whatever works for you, Megan.
I'm suspecting there'll be about 45 minutes to an hour for each one.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to call because we don't know how many we're gonna have, but,
Well, we could still start at a certain time, and if you got one, you're done in an hour.
yeah. works for everybody else.
Neil, you said the 18th works best. Are you available on the 20th?
I'm not available on the 20th.
Oh, I'm sorry, the
She's going up
19th,
north.
excuse me. That Thursday.
19th, I could during the day,
Okay.
but I'd prefer, I got a big meeting that night and I have to prepare.
The 18th and 19th.
And take a nap.
are horse apiece for me,
Well.
so.
Megan,
18th.
would you prefer a 9 o'clock or a 1 o'clock? I would prefer a 9.
9, I
I
guess.
prefer 1, but that's okay.
I know, childcare is going to be a
Yeah.
pain though if I have to go later.
Yeah, I could either, but I guess 9 is probably.
Okay. And if you just pass out, then
Then
we'll just
you know
wheel
what?
you in a
You
corner.
just keep
and-
going. Keep moving on.
Okay.
I'll bring you a copy.
All right.
Bring you a copy.
So Wednesday, December 18th at 9?
Yeah, is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Motion by Hersberg, seconded by Soini. Any further discussion? Looking at a motion for Wednesday, December 18th at 9 a.m. I caught myself, Tarek. You don't got to give me that side eye. Any other discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None? Motion carries. All right. Then we have some land offers that we'd like to discuss, folks. Can we, is there a motion to go into closed session on these first properties, 70.39194 quadruple zero, 70.392 10.0000, and the others listed under item 10 on our action sheet.
So moved.
Motion by Brick, second
Second.
by Soini. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries. All right. All right, we're back in open session. We met to discuss the properties identified on our agenda. Discussion and instruction to staff on the first group of properties. As to the second one, we received an offer to purchase, and I believe the council has approved it, so I would entertain a motion on a resolution.
I'll make the motion to approve the purchase agreement from Frontier Homes in the amount of $21,000 for 295 Cure Court.
There's a motion to approve the purchase agreement from Frontier Homes as stated on our action sheet from the update by Soini. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Hersberg. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carry, or any opposed? No, motion carries. All right, now on the resolution, someone.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Soini to approve Resolution 24-36 regarding the sale of land and authorizing the signing of the same documents. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brick. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries. A few things on our update, or not update, but informational tonight. There it is. A thank you from the Initiative Foundation. As Ron talked about that street closure on First Street, along with, as we talked about earlier, the cannabis ordinance from Stearns County. Take a look at that. They will be back. So thank you very much, folks. We're done.